Movie buffs, welcome back to the Movie Bay. This is D. In today's video, we're going to do 10 revenge movies. This is a subscriber requested video. So we're going to take a look at 10 pretty good movies based on revenge. So let's go ahead. We're going to start this movie off with Tom Jane and John Travolta in a movie that I really think is super underrated, super slept on, and this is definitely going to make an underrated movies list. I'm not sure if it's going to be on 9 or 10 because I think we're up to 9 now. No, we just did 8 last week, so we're going to be doing 9. But anyway, this movie right here, the name of the movie says it all. The Punisher. Tom Jane, John Travolta gave great performances in this movie. This was a very slept on, very underrated movie. They came out with one after this called Warzone. It was just, I thought it was okay, but it went in a different direction of this one. I really do like this one. And there's a Punisher movie that came out, I do believe, in the 80s. I forget who was in it, but it wasn't all that great. To me, this is the best Punisher movie so far. I think Tom Jane did a great job. There's some great quotes in here. There's a lot of good action in here. And The Punisher. The name of the character says it all. This is all about revenge. Frank Castle's whole family was slaughtered. Frank Castle was an undercover deep operative for the CIA. A big organized crime leader's son, I do believe, got killed. And they wanted to find out who the operative was who did it. They paid a lot of money to find out who Frank Castle was. Found his family vacationing they was on holiday vacationing. They went there, slaughtered his whole family. He survived. Frank Castle died that day, and the Punisher was born. You got to check this one out. If you never saw this particular version of the Punisher, I really recommend you check this one out. It's fantastic. And I hope Marvel do something with the Punisher as far as incorporating him into the MCU. Next up, we're going to take a look at Jason Bateman, Rebecca Hall, and Joel Edgerton, The Gift. The Gift, this right here is a really good thriller. I enjoyed every minute of this. This is basically about high school beef that he never got over the high school beef that these two had. Came back into his life, befriended him. And I'm not going to tell you the end of this one, just in case you didn't see this one, but it's got a crazy-ass ending to it. You got to check this one out. This is a fantastic revenge movie. If you want to see a movie where the revenge is like a real slow burn, this movie is the example of revenge is a dish best served cold. A lot of people get that mixed up. When they say revenge is a dish best served cold, they don't mean that the revenge got to be cold-blooded or like really violent or grotesque. That means that the revenge took a long time to happen. Same thing, when you leave something out for too long, it gets cold. So that's what they mean by a dish best served cold. It's the revenge that takes a long time to happen when the mark don't even realize it's happening. So that's a great movie. Next up is another good revenge movie. This is The Quick and the Dead. Fantastic Western movie. One of the best modern Westerns out there. For me, modern Westerns are Westerns from we'll say from the 90s up to now. That's what I call modern Westerns. You got Sharon Stone, Gene Hackman, Russell Crowe, and Leonardo DiCaprio. This movie pops on quite a few lists that I do. Different lists because it falls in so many different categories. But you got Sharon Stone character. She was a little girl and she saw her father get hung by the Gene Hackman character, and she grew up wanting revenge, and she got her revenge. It took a long time. Again, it took a long time to get, but she got it. The Quick and the Dead. Fantastic movie, great Western, great cast. Can't say enough about that movie. Next up is another one. This is another movie that made one of my underrated movies list, but it's a great revenge movie. The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. This is probably one of the best revenge movies you'll see. The lengths that she go through to destroy this family for something that really wasn't their fault. She was actually the victim of her husband, but in her twisted mind, she blamed her for what happened to her, and it wasn't her fault. You got to check this one out. Like I said before, I urge you to check this one out. If you never saw The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, go ahead and check out The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Fantastic thriller and great revenge movie. Next up is probably, like I said before, Again, this is another movie that will make a lot of different lists. This is definitely one of my favorite movies in my collection. This is probably like in my top 25, top 20. Is that high up? And that's Russell Crowe's Gladiator. To me, this is by far the best performance Crowe has ever done. Crowe got some good performances, don't get me wrong, but this is the Cadillac of Crowe performances. I can't think of one better. So he plays Maximus, who's the general in the king's army. And Joaquin Phoenix, his character, Commodus, is jealous of the relationship that Maximus have with Marcus Aurelius, who's the father and also the king. And so he sets up Commodus have Maximus' family killed, his son and his wife. And then he has Maximus arrested and basically like sold into bondage. And he learns a lot when he's in bondage, how to become a gladiator. And he becomes this gladiator. And I think that was his name in the movie, like Gladiator. And he was, oh no, the Spaniard, my bad. They called him the Spaniard. He was bad. He was dropping them left and right. And he goes back and he gets his revenge against Commodus. But of course, Commodus, being Commodus, he does something dirty to weaken Maximus, but he still comes out on top. But again, sad ending, but a good ending. This is one of the movies where the ending was sad, but also rewarding. Like you saw, it was sad for a moment, but then you realize, wow, this was a beautiful ending, even though it was sad. Fantastic movie, great revenge movie, great story, great acting, great music, great everything. Gladiator. Just a fantastic film, definitely. Next up, we have Robert De Niro, Nick Nolte, and Jessica Lange in Cape Fear. This is the remake to Cape Fear. Banging movie. The revenge part of this movie is you got Max Cady, played by Robert De Niro. He was also played in the original by Robert Mitchum. And again, this is the better version to me. They're both great. I love them both. But if I had to pick one, I would go with this because of De Niro's performance alone. He was absolutely insane. So Nick Nolte played Sam Bolden. Yeah, he plays Sam Bolden, an attorney who defended Cady, but he didn't really do a good job. I even was siding with Max Cady, like, yo, he was a bum-ass lawyer. But he didn't defend him properly for whatever the reason. And Max Cady came back for revenge, and it was a great movie, and I loved it. Cape Fear. Next up is probably, no, I'm going to save that one. I'm going to save those two for last. We'll go with this one. The Crow. Okay, sadly, this was the last movie with Brandon Lee. He was fatally shot on the set of this movie by a prop gun. So you got, he played the character, his name was Eric, and he was in a guitarist in a like a rock band. And him and his girlfriend was killed brutally by a gang. And 1 year after his death, he was revived by like this dark force in the form of a crow to take revenge on those who killed him. This movie was really, really good. And it was also a tragic movie because Brandon Lee was killed and he didn't live a long life like his father. Bruce Lee didn't live a long life either. I mean, that's a tragic family right there. But anyway, The Crow. Now, there's been several Crow movies after this, but he died during the production of this movie, and he didn't finish it. So a lot of the shots wasn't him, but they did a lot of trick camera work where you really didn't know, unless you knew. But at the time, you didn't know. So, great movie. This is probably, in my collection, this is probably, like, far as absolute revenge movies where it's just, now again, Gladiator is a great revenge movie, but it's so much more to that movie than revenge. It's more to it than that. This movie is basically squarely about revenge. There's really nothing else here. So that's what makes this probably the second best revenge movie in my collection. And that's John Wick. There's actually one in front of this one, if you can believe it. But John Wick is all about revenge. So what you got here, you got Keanu Reeves. He's John Wick. He was an enforcer for an organized crime family. And he was the one that you fucking sent to kill the boogeyman. So he was a badass. And he wanted out. And so Vigo said, hey, if you do this impossible, well, he didn't call it that, but he said, if you do this task for me, I'll let you go. And John Wick wanted to leave because he fell in love, and I guess he wanted to get married and live a normal life. So he did this impossible task for Vigo the bodies he laid and the dirt that they laid the foundation for what they became. So he was an absolute badass. So right after he left, and his wife died, and his Vigo's son ran it out. The crazy thing is Vigo's son didn't know who John Wick was. He just thought he was just a random guy. They bumped into each other at a gas station when John was filling up his car, and he wanted to buy his car. John said the car wasn't for sale, and Vigo's son didn't like it. I'm assuming he found out where John Wick lived by running his plate, by getting the plate and going through the DMV, because the mob guys got connections and shit like that. So they went to John Wick's house. They beat him up. They killed his dog. They stole his car. They sold his car. And Vigo was not happy about that at all. You got to check this movie out. John Wick went through hell and high water. He went absolute scorched earth over a car and a puppy. Check it out. Next up, number 10. I'm going to say this is the ultimate revenge movie. And what I mean by that is you got Jim Caviezel, Guy Pearce, and Richard Harris, and a host of others in this movie. And this is the Count of Monte Cristo. This is probably the best revenge movie I ever saw. It approaches revenge in a way that is just so sweet. So Jim Caviezel, he's Edmond Dantes, and he's friends with Guy Pearce's character, who is Fernand Mondeo. And, Fernand comes from an upper class family. Edmond is poor, but he has a very attractive girlfriend who he's madly in love with and one day wants to marry. Fernand wants that. Now, it's funny how you see cases like that in movies and just stuff where you got people who got it all who could be jealous of a person who don't have nothing but one thing. But that person with everything don't have that one thing, but want that one thing that poor person has. It's crazy. I know, right? So he launched in a very elaborate scheme to get Edmond locked up and thrown into Chateau d'If, which is like Chateau d'If in the movie. That just the mere mention of that name send chills up their spines. Like Chateau d'If, like what the fuck? Like I put it this way: we had Chateau d'Ifs in the United States. A couple of those, the crime rate will probably drop overnight. But anyway, Edmond is sentenced to Chateau d'If. He goes through hell in that prison. But he also learns a lot of lessons. He learned how to become just a stronger-willed person. He learns how to become a master sword fighter. He learns a lot. And he befriends an old guy who he shares a cell with. And he also gives the bum, well, I'm not going to call him a bum, the old guy gives Edmond a treasure map to a buried treasure. And Edmond goes on, once he's released, did he get released or did he escape? It's been a while since I've seen this. Either one. He might have escaped. I think he escaped. But either way, he gets out and he gets on a boat and something happens on a boat and he befriends, I forget the little short guy. He befriends him and he basically has a blood debt now with Edmond. He becomes like his companion, his bodyguard, his everything, his confidant, everything. He follows him throughout the movie. He finds the treasure, becomes extremely rich, just like that. He buys a luxurious mansion. He pays for it with a whole cart full of coins. He gets the wardrobe, the hair, and he adopts a new identity, the Count of Monte Cristo. And he uses that new persona to get in with the upper class, the elites of society, where he can get close to Fernand and take his revenge. And when I tell you, this movie is the very definition of revenge, is truly a dish best served cold. I'm here to tell you, this movie is the definition of revenge is a dish best served cold. Fantastic film. You'll love this one. Well, guys, that's 10 movies that is based on revenge. There's many more out there. That was subscriber requested. If you would like to see a video with your theme, a theme that you think that might work, go ahead and drop it in the comment section. I'll look at it, and if I can pull it off for you, I'll do the video for you. And that's it. I'll see you in the next one.